And to generate his status, stack call stack like Trish Stratus. Kevin and Matt discuss topics. It matters to keep the coverage on lock like it's Chris Masters. Using wrestling and rap, trying to craft the blend perfect. Even Dillinger gotta say that's the thing. Keep it Boston strong.
Welcome to the Stack Card. This is Voltage, episode 1. It's a new video series I'm going to be doing every week on Wednesdays. It's our new Wednesday episode, and I'm joined here by our expert analyst, Ben from Myanmar. Hello, Ben.
Hello.
How's it going over there?
It's doing pretty well. It's about 10 o'clock at night over here. It's pretty interesting, pretty different from, I guess, the United States, I guess, from the Western world, I guess. But here in Myanmar, they really love their wrestling, so as well as I do. So I'm very, very excited to talk about wrestling for the Stack Card Voltage. So I'm very excited.
Now, this is really one of the few things that those in Myanmar know about the American culture. Wrestling is one of those things that they do know about over there. Yeah,
it's very interesting. Where I work in Mandalay, Myanmar. It's a city like right in the center of Myanmar. For my listeners who are not familiar with Myanmar, you might be familiar with it being called Burma. That's what it used to be called. Now it's called Myanmar. But my students, especially, they know like very little about American culture. They don't even know what like really McDonald's is. They don't know who Donald Trump is. They don't know really anything about American culture.
Well, it's probably better they don't know about Donald Trump or McDonald's. I mean, if they probably did, they'd have no dreams of living the American dream, you know?
That is very true.
If that's what America is like, then hey, look, I'm just going to stay settled where I am, you know?
That's very true. But it's amazing because like I would talk to them about like, you know, things that are happening in, you know, America or just in the Western world, and they have like no idea. But once I mention the WWE, they go like almost insane. They love it. They know all about like, you know, they love Randy Orton and the RKO. They love John Cena. Like one of the kids, like I call him John Cena because he's a huge John Cena fan. They just like, yeah. So it's just amazing. It's like night and day.
Wow.
Like, you know, I'll talk about, you know, something that's going on back in the United States, and they'll have no idea. But like once I talk about like SummerSlam, they go insane.
So
even the girls,
wow.
the girls in my class, because I teach over here in Myanmar. Even the girls in my class, like they'll be talking about, oh my God, you know, Nikki Bella came back at SummerSlam. You know, they'll know about that. So it's actually kind of fun.
That's pretty interesting. Like you would expect something like McDonald's to at least be known over there. And wrestling, I mean, I did meet a girl from Mexico at my store. And, you know, she said she was here to visit for a few months. And I was talking to her, and, you know, we were talking about our career and whatnot. And I said, yeah, I have a podcast for wrestling. And she's like, wrestling? I said, yeah, you know, WWE and stuff. And I forget what part of Mexico she's from, but she was like, oh, I don't know what that is. Like, she didn't know what the WWE or wrestling was.
Huh.
So it's kind of fun.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny because if anybody knows the back history, Myanmar wasn't it like closed off until 2012?
Yes. Up until 2012, Myanmar was kind of closed off the Western world because of economic sanctions, because the government that the Myanmar government was a military junta. Basically, it was run by the military, and of course the United States, all the Western countries really didn't like that. So really, economic trade really didn't happen really that much. So it was almost kind of closed off. It was almost like, I don't want to compare it to like North Korea because it's nothing like North Korea, but it was almost like second North Korea in terms of like oppressiveness. But after 2012, they had democratic elections. Pretty much Mandalay is like a developing new democratic country. They're still trying. They're like almost like, I guess, like a baby in terms of like being a democracy. They're still in its like infancy in terms of democracy.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that, being a baby, part of democracy, starting off. It's actually some of the beautiful times because you're going from one extreme to like something new, something refreshing, I guess, because if you never had a democracy, you're like, you don't know what it's like. So you actually appreciate it a bit more. And Ben got disconnected. He's calling back. So, yeah, a little disconnection there, huh?
Yeah, that's another thing about Myanmar. So, like the listeners that are, are viewing this program right now, I mean, they kind of, maybe they don't appreciate like maybe like the internet connection that they have, I guess. And I certainly didn't before I came here. But the internet connection here is very, spotty. Cut out at any minute, like we just saw right now.
Yeah.
So what did you last hear? What was I saying last before we cut out?
Well, you were saying about how it's like a baby, like it's just starting off. The democracy is just kind of starting off there. And when you got caught off, I was just saying how those are some of the best times because you're going from like no democracy at all. So even a little bit of democracy, people appreciate it. You know what I mean? And like you just mentioned with the Wi-Fi too, obviously you could tell from the viewers, you could tell that the Wi-Fi is not good. On most calls you get in the US usually go through, you usually have Wi-Fi, and honestly, we could go on our phones, we could go on our smart devices, we can go anywhere, and we'll have Wi-Fi wherever we go. So, yeah, I mean, as you can see, he's in his own apartment, and the Wi-Fi is barely doing anything.
Oh, I think maybe you cut out again?
Yeah, I would say so. But that's pretty interesting. So now, how is the
Yeah. So that's just the thing about Irma over here. It's amazing.
How is the WWE network over there?
That's the funny thing about it. Like during the day, it's like it doesn't work. Like the WWE doesn't work. Like it's actually a miracle right now that we're talking right now. Yeah, like at this time at like 10 o'clock at night. But what's funny is like 2 in the morning, 1, 2, 3 in the morning, it's perfect.
Oh wow.
So I had to like stay up. That's how dedicated I am to wrestling again. To watch SummerSlam, I had to stay up Monday night. Because Monday night over here is, Monday morning over where you guys are.
Yeah.
Monday night I had to stay up. Well, actually, it was technically Tuesday morning. I had to stay up to watch SummerSlam.
Jeez.
But it was perfect. I mean, I'll give it that. I'll give the internet here that. At 2 in the morning, 2, 3 in the morning, Tuesday, it was perfect.
Yeah. Well, at least it works in the middle of the night, but during the day, just forget about it, huh?
Yeah, you might as well not have an internet connection at all if you're going to try to, view the WWE network.
It could depend maybe on the Wi-Fi you're on, because maybe like the specific place where you use the Wi-Fi, many people are using it. Maybe if you go to a place where no one's using the Wi-Fi, then it could work.
Well, that's the thing. We are like, the Wi-Fi I'm on right now is pretty much the only Wi-Fi in the area.
Really?
Yeah, because I have about like 20 people I'm competing against on the Wi-Fi.
Oh, wow.
But like anywhere else, like there's no like Dunkin' Donuts, there's no Starbucks I can go to get free Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Like this is the only place. Like at the school Wi-Fi, which I'm on right now, is the only place, the only Wi-Fi in the area. And I'm not even exaggerating that. That's
So,
like true.
A question for you. Now, does like houses have Wi-Fi, or is it just like, can you get Wi-Fi in your apartments, or is it just like big businesses like a school or an office that will have Wi-Fi?
Yeah, it's pretty much just a school. Like even my students, like it's pretty much just a school. Like even my students come from, I guess, well-to-do families, like rich families. Even them, their internet is not that good. Like their internet is not that good. So pretty much the only thing I can do is like email. That's it.
Oh, wow. So like, how are the homework assignments? Like, are they able, they're not online, I'm guessing?
Yeah, in terms of like online assignments, I keep it optional. Usually I have them just write it out or type it on like a word processor and just print it out.
Yeah.
Some of them are able to email it to me. A lot of them just, they put it on a flash drive and they give it to me and I just like put it onto my computer.
Oh, that's not bad.
That's pretty much the extent. So.
Wow. Not bad at all. Well, I know you've been keeping up to date with Raw and Smackdown recently, especially that Miz and Daniel Bryan confrontation on Talking Smack last week. I really thought that was an interesting way to kind of go into this week.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I watched that. I don't know about you, Matt, but I think I watched that like at least 10 times, that the Miz Daniel Bryan confrontation. I just loved it so much. I'm a huge Miz fan. I probably was more of a Miz fan back in like 2011 and stuff. But that segment just kind of, I guess, reinforced my fandom of the Miz. It was just a great segment overall. I don't know why it was on Talking Smack, but I guess Talking Smack is a great show. That's what I've been hearing. It's just, I was just really impressed by the Miz, his like intensity. He just really showed why he's like the best heel in the business. Maybe, I shouldn't say that. Maybe he's the second best heel after Chris Jericho.
Yeah, I was going to say Chris Jericho is up there. And also Kevin Owens, I would say, is up there as well, who is our new WWE Universal Champion on Raw. And that was kind of shocking. The fact that Triple H pedigreed Seth Rollins, who is supposed to be, the face of the future, the face of the company. Seth Rollins was Triple H's buddy, and they're working hand in hand with each other for over a year, I would say. We really don't have much of an explanation as to why Triple H would do that to Seth Rollins. I mean, for instance, Seth Rollins was champion before he took injury. And it's not Seth Rollins' fault that he got injured. I mean, Kane's just a heavy guy and he's hard to lift up. So, anything can happen when you lift in the big red machine. But I think as far as Seth Rollins goes, I think it was kind of crazy that Seth Rollins was pedigreed by Triple H on Raw. I think that Kevin Owens is definitely one of the top heels, and I'm happy that he is now champion. I'm confused as to why Triple H would pedigree Seth Rollins. I mean, what did you think about that?
That's very true. I mean, Kevin Owens the best heel. I mean, I love Kevin Owens, but he keeps getting cheered. I mean, does that necessarily mean he's a great heel? I mean, that's a good question. I mean, is the fact that he gets cheered, is he still a great heel? Is that being a great heel?
Well, I think the generations are different. Back in the day, heels couldn't get cheered for the life of them. But for instance, nowadays, Jericho, people love the fact that he goes around saying stupid idiot. Back in the day, they would hate that stuff because they're like, how dare he call me a stupid idiot? But nowadays the fans will like insult themselves pretty much,
Yeah. But The Miz, though, I mean, everybody hates The Miz. I mean, Isn't he, isn't that like a true heel? I mean, what do you think?
Well, I think one reason why people weren't too keen on The Miz, especially recently, is because, over the past few years, he hasn't really done much. He won the Intercontinental title, but then it was kind of, he didn't do much on the mic. It was more just his talk show. He wasn't doing much on the mic to support his career, pretty much. It was more just doing little interviews, stirring the pot between wrestlers. I think, especially after that pipe bomb on Talking Smack, that's all people have been talking about. So I'm expecting now that they're giving him a shot to use the mic and to work that ability that he has. I'm thinking he'll start getting cheered with over the next month or so. People are going to start getting behind him.
Yeah, maybe. I was even thinking maybe they'll have a reverse authority angle, like with Daniel Bryan maybe as the face oppressing the heel Miz. That might be interesting to kind of see on television. We're all used to the heel GM or heel authority figure oppressing the face. Maybe I don't know. Maybe more interesting to see like a face authority figure.
The face of Eddie Murphy. Interesting. But yeah,
Did I say that?
That's the way it was coming out. It was like the face of Eddie Murphy. But
no. But I was saying,
I know what you mean. Like it will be interesting to see the face, on the heel, basically. Like the face get on the heel's back instead of the heel getting on the face's back.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And The Miz is right, though. Look at what The Miz was saying. If you love wrestling so much, why don't you go wrestle in a bingo hall in front of 50 people? I mean, a lot of these independent wrestlers, I love them all, but I mean, the stuff they do, it's no surprise that, people like Daniel Bryan come out with injuries. I don't know. Back in the day, there were injuries, obviously, if you look at Stone Cold, Triple H and stuff. But they didn't have to do flashy stuff like Sami Zayn. For instance, his dive outside the ring through the turnbuckle, through like the middle and the top turnbuckle, it's just insane. Like, it shouldn't be done. It's too risky. You're risking and losing one of your greater talents just for one move. And I don't think it's worth it. I mean, it's great that people are doing flashy stuff, but Miz is right. Like, some of the all-time greats, they didn't have to do all this insane moves inside the ring. They were, I mean, like a spine buster or a stone cold stunner, you know, just grabbing somebody's neck and slamming your ass on the ground. Like it wasn't like insane, but it was effective. And that's Miz's moveset, basically. His, you know, skull crushing finale, gets behind them, slams their face into the ground. He doesn't have to do any flips, tricks to be the best, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, speaking of that Sami Zayn move, like every time I see him do that, I'm convinced he's gonna slam his head against the turnbuckle. It's like it's a very dangerous move, and but like the Miz was absolutely right. I mean, that's kind of like a weird thing to see. And that's probably like where heels are the best, when they kind of inject a little bit of truth into things. It can kind of make people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Especially talking about Daniel Bryan kind of that negatively. I mean, that can make people uncomfortable, especially to some fans. I mean, when fans start to think like, oh, wow, this guy Miz, he's actually kind of right.
Yeah.
But he's kind of a jerk. It's like, it kind of makes people uncomfortable. And it's kind of like, that's a good thing, though. I mean, it kind of makes them like, you know, kind of hate him even more almost.
Yeah. No, I agree. Speaking of uncomfortable, I think one of the best things about that segment was Renee Young's selling of the promo. If you've seen her reaction, she was like, "Oh, okay, that's enough. That's enough." Like, I think that really added to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So because I'm pretty convinced, I'm like 98% sure that was, you know, planned, that segment. But again, yeah, Renee Young sold that beautifully. If that was true, if this was an actual like planned segment, she kind of added to kind of like the craziness of that segment. It almost seemed like, you know, oh, this should not be happening, and that kind of made the segment even better.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It was, almost in a way, even though we know it was somewhat planned out, just the way they're going about it on SmackDown and stuff, and the way they're addressing it, it definitely seems like it was like planned out. But in a way, just her reaction and the way like Miz, like if you look into his eyes, you could see the passion, you could see the fire, and like his eyes were almost watering when he was staring into the camera. And that just shows you like how much intensity goes into this. And in a way, it makes you think, even if it was planned, maybe they planned for him to say something, but they didn't give him a direct script. Like maybe he just went off and, you know, kind of like the CM Punk thing. I don't think he had a direct script written by creative. I just think they said, okay, go out and shoot on WWE. And they just kind of let him make up his own words, you know? That could have been what happened with The Miz.
Yeah, maybe they had just a brief kind of like conversation, like, okay, Daniel Bryan's gonna say this, Miz is gonna kind of say this, but yeah, just because something is planned doesn't mean like the passion isn't true or the words aren't true. Like definitely, I saw from The Miz, it's like his words, like he was passionate. I mean, like The Miz is like, he's been here. I mean, it's kind of hard to believe he's been in the WWE for 10 years. More than 10 years, actually. And people have been, crapping on him for, like, even to this day. I mean, everyone thought he was just some reality star from the real world.
Yeah.
He still kind of had a chip on his shoulder. So, like, just because maybe the segment was planned or it was a worked shoot, I guess you could say, that passion is still there. I mean, that passion, it definitely came off as genuine.
Yeah, and that's why I love it. And I know him and Dolph Ziggler went face-to-face on SmackDown. Basically, The Miz was explaining what he said and telling the fans that he has worked his butt off for everybody and just for the fans and to entertain people, and people don't appreciate it. Dolph came out, and Dolph was like, why don't you show that you can fight a fair match. Why don't you fight me tonight instead of being a coward? Why don't you prove people wrong? Now is your chance. And the Miz just kind of walked away from it. And I think that's like what you said. It's being the heel. You know what I mean? If he stood there and he fought, he wouldn't have gotten booed. But him saying all that stuff and then walking away, that kind of got people, booing him heavily.
Well, I mean, like the main objective for the heel is people want to see them, get the crap beat out of them. And,
of course.
I mean, that's kind of like the goal with The Miz. I mean, he already has it easy almost with The Miz. It's like he has a very punchable face, which is very, which is good for him, I guess, as he's trying to act like a heel. People just want to, that's the goal, the objective of the heel. You want people to, you want the fans to want to see you get pummeled, I guess you can say.
No, I agree. And I'm thinking now with The Miz and Dolph Ziggler, they're going to love to see Miz get super kicked when the time comes. So I'm looking forward to that. Also on SmackDown, we had two tag team championship tournament matches. One of them was the Hype Bros versus the Vaudevillains, in which the Hype Bros came out with the victory. I thought this match was pretty good. There's something, though, I am a bit concerned about. It's the way the Vaudevillains have been used on the main roster. Yeah. They haven't really picked up a victory in over a month at this point. And I don't think they've picked up a victory since coming to SmackDown, because in American Alpha's SmackDown debut, they beat the Vaudevillains. So right off to the start, they're on a losing streak. And they just haven't won ever since.
Yeah, it sucks about the Vaudevillains because, they worked so well in NXT.
Mm-hmm.
They work so well in NXT, but it just seems like their gimmick isn't transferring. I don't know what the deal is with them. They seem to be pretty decent wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
They have a very unique gimmick, I guess, but I don't know what's really going on with them. I don't know what is the direction for them. They seem to be a pretty solid tag team, but I really don't know what's going on with them.
Well, I think they could use a manager. I think that would definitely help them. Like, for instance, I'm not a big fan of the Titus O'Neil, Darren Young thing. So I'm thinking if Bob Backlund, instead of going with Darren Young, if he was with the Vaudevillains, that would be kind of entertaining, I think.
Yeah, that'd be kind of interesting because, Bob Backlund's kind of like that old school, he came from the 70s, the 80s in terms of the wrestling era.
Mm-hmm.
And the Vaudevillains are kind of like that throwback kind of team. That'd be kind of interesting to see for Backlund. So, I could kind of see that. Maybe like a voice for them, a manager for them might work.
Yeah.
They seem to be okay on the mic, though, but that's the thing.
Well,
I don't think they're given kind of the room almost to kind of expand their character. I just don't think they're, I just don't think creative is, really confident in them.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate thing about tag teams. When, like in WWE, you see creative look at one tag team, and when one tag team is looked at as the dominant tag team, all the other tag teams are pretty much buried. For instance, we haven't seen, like, the Dudley Boys, for instance. I've been wanting to talk about this for a while. I know I mentioned it a couple of shows ago. I get it that, they're putting over the younger talent, but they're a legendary team. They should be treated like a legendary tag team. Look at the Hardys in TNA. They're not, winning the title and holding the title 365 days a year. They haven't had the tag titles in since Jeff had his motorcycle injury I think it was about 2 years ago at this point. But they're effective still. The Hardys are still effective in TNA, and the Dudley Boys should be effective.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just disappointing because every time you saw them, it was like, they're going to lose. And it's ridiculous that once they decide to leave WWE, then people start to cheer. Why weren't you cheering every single time they came out to the ring? Like, I remember when we went to the live show, I stood up on my chair for them. I was going nuts for them. Them in Rhino, it was the Team ECW with Tommy Dreamer and stuff versus the Wyatt family at TLC. I think they should have at least won 1 or 2 matches in that feud. They lost every single match. The ones on Raw, the ones on TLC, and the one on Raw, I think, was even better. Do you remember, like, somebody got thrown off the stage or something?
Yeah. I definitely remember that match. But speaking of the Dudleys, I remember even when Enzo and Cass came up after WrestleMania, I was excited about that feud. I mean, definitely, I think that should have been, extended, like, in terms of a feud. Like, that should have been, like, definitely, I think Enzo and Cass should have went over. I think they should have, beaten the Dudleys in that feud. But again, I think they should have been, that should have been made more of a big deal. The fact that they beat the Dudley Boys,
Yeah.
But that's the whole point. Like, that should have been the whole point of the Dudley Boys coming back. Like, when they came back, they should have won maybe the tag team titles right away.
I don't even think they won the tag team titles once, did they?
No.
Yeah.
That should have been. But anyway, even if they didn't win the tag team titles, that should have been a big deal. Like, beating the Dudley Boys. Like, that should be a struggle, to overcome for, like, the up-and-coming tag teams to beat the Dudley Boys.
Yeah.
Probably, like, the most accomplished tag team, arguably, in history.
Yeah, no, I couldn't say it any better. I think they're so accomplished that you can't just put them out there as jobbers. And arguably, Bubba Ray Dudley is doing the best mic work he's ever done in his career. Since TNA let him go with that Bully Ray gimmick, he's just been that loudmouth trash talking. He's very good. And we've seen Devon on his own, and Devon's very entertaining as well. I think these guys are doing some of the best mic work they've ever done. So I don't see why they couldn't, do something where people would struggle to beat them, or I don't know. I would have liked to see Enzo and Bubba Ray have a few more words with each other. What I am happy about, however, is Anderson and Gallows. That's something I wanted to speak of. They came into WWE. I wouldn't say they were very entertaining. I would say they were a bit boring, if you ask me. And, with the whole AJ Styles, and I was not a fan of the whole club. But since going to Raw and separating from AJ Styles, I think the whole thing with the ring post-itis, and they were doctors. This week they weren't doctors. They were retirement specialists. Because, Bubba.
I knew you'd like that.
Yeah, I like what they're doing every week. And this week they had Nurse Dana Brooke. And that was.
I'm sure you like that. I like that.
Yeah, me too. Honestly, like, I was never really, I look at Dana Brooke and I'm like, wow, she's pretty. But this week, like, seeing her in that nurse outfit, I was like, wow. Like, I can see, like, how, amazing she is. But yeah, it was a 6-person tag. It was Anderson Gallows with Dana Brooke versus the New Day with Bayley. That match was pretty good, but I like the way they're using Anderson and Gallows. I think it's much more effective, and I think they get a shot at the tag titles against the New Day now.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Anderson and Gallows, I mean, they're getting slightly better since they kind of split with AJ Styles, but I mean, they're still really not like connecting with me. I mean, I think they need, honestly, a couple months in NXT.
Yeah.
I mean, they just seem, I don't know, I don't know. It's just a feeling with me, and again, it could just be, not that well informed, but it just seems like, I mean, they're not really connecting with me, and it just seems like to me they're not really connecting with the audience that well.
Yeah.
I mean, I do like the creativity they are having with, the retirement specialist. That's pretty clever. But honestly, like at SummerSlam, I think it was when they had like Big E. I don't even know what they had in those jars.
Oh, those were Big E's testicles.
It was kind of weirding me out, to be honest. It was kind of odd, but not in a good way.
Yeah. I actually kind of liked it, because you never see like a tag team come down to the ring, collecting people's testicles and putting them in jars. I think with that there was a little bit of humor, but I also think they were very malicious, very, very they were very hardcore Henry, like they were attacking everybody and just trying to really slam people's nutty region into the ring post. So I think that was it was kind of fun, but speaking of tag teams, also on SmackDown, we had, oh my God, Heath Slater and Rhino versus the Headbangers, in which Heath Slater and Rhino picked up the victory, but that was a bit of a shocker. Like, I was definitely not expecting the Headbangers to come back.
Yeah, me neither. With the Headbangers, I remember watching them back in the Attitude Era. I don't know about you, but like they were like okay with me, even like when I was younger watching them. I mean, they were just like okay. Like I don't know about you. How did you feel about them when you were watching the Attitude Era?
I mean, they weren't. Yeah, exactly. They were okay, but they were never like, I never seen them as, say the Dudleys, Hardys, Edge, and Christian. I mean, I even looked at La Resistance and, those guys. Yeah, I mean, in a way, the Headbangers were similar to the Bashams. They were effective, but
yeah,
I mean, like Doug and Danny Basham, they were effective, but they weren't prestige,
Yeah, I mean, they were like, the tag team era back then, I guess, like, they were like below a tier, like they were like second tier Attitude Era team. I mean, I guess like if the first tier would be like the Hardys, Edge and Christian, the Dudleys, the APA. Even like Too Cool.
Yeah.
And then below them would probably be like, the second tier would probably be like the Headbangers,
Yeah. I agree. It was just surprising to see them come back. I mean, I think they worked really well with Heath Slater and Rhino. I love Rhino. I just hope Rhino, gets victories as well. I would love to see Heath Slater and Rhino with the tag gold. I think American Alpha is just too predictable.
You don't like American Alpha?
No, I love them. I think they're great. They're talented young kids who are gonna, be the face of the tag division. But I think it's very predictable. Since debuting on SmackDown.
I don't know. I mean, you have like the John Cena of the tag team division in there, and the Usos, though.
Oh no, the Usos are not their favorite anymore. It's pretty clear. The Usos haven't been on TV in a few weeks. Well, I don't know. Maybe they were on TV last week, but they're not like doing anything on the microphone. They're not doing anything in the storylines. But none of the tag teams really are. I just feel like American Alpha is, pretty much I don't think the Hype Bros will win it. The Vaudevillains, obviously not. They lost. I would love to see Rhino and Heath Slater because it comes down to who really needs it. You know, you have American Alpha. They're a great tag team. People know that they're a great tag team, and they don't really need the titles to prove that. Heath Slater and Rhino, if they lose and Heath Slater does not get his contract, what do they have? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of unfortunate. You know, maybe a Heath Slater Rhino feud, but I mean, I like the whole thing. You know, he's got to buy a pool for his kids and stuff, and you know, I think it's interesting. As far as I think like the minimal storylines on SmackDown, I think are much better than the ones on Raw. I would say.
Yeah. It just seems, on SmackDown, I think they're like a lot simpler, but better.
Yeah, that's the best way to describe it. I think those small storylines, like for instance, Apollo Crews with the AJ Styles thing, and you know, this past week, and then you know, the Miz and Dolph Ziggler, you know, and that's surround the Intercontinental Belt. I think SmackDown's been very effective in those ways. I think as far as the big picture goes, I think Raw has been winning in that just because of the whole, you know, Finn Balor and the whole Kevin Owens, and it's like, and they have 3 hours. So on SmackDown, you can only do really one big feud. I know they had AJ Cena. Now that that's over, who knows what's next? Yeah, and then they had the world.
Well, I mean, with the 3 hours, the 3 hours was the 2 hours. I mean, for SmackDown, the 2 hours, it actually might be to their benefit. I mean, maybe 2 hours is a much better show, maybe has a better flow for 2 hours. Maybe 3 hours is awkward.
No, I think the 2 hours is better because honestly, look at your 3 hours. I can tell you like half the card. We had Nia Jax versus Hyan. Hyan's actually really cute from Houston, Texas, and I'm gonna look her up. But then we had Sami Zayn versus Jinder Mahal. It's good to see Jinder Mahal back, but
don't hinder with Jinder.
Yeah, don't hinder with Jinder. But Jinder Mahal could have went to Impact, you know, and you know, he could have did the whole you know, the Muhammad Hassan. Well, I mean, they're two different cultures, but I'm sure TNA would have found something for him. You know, it's just he's a good wrestler, and I think we've seen some of that located with in this match with Sami Zayn, but obviously Zayn's going to win. And then we had you know, Braun Strowman versus another jobber. Then we had Titus versus Darren Young. That's like an hour of 15 minutes of just garbage. And then but then you got commercials. So you figure like half the show is just like, I can't really think. I think Sheamus and Cesaro are putting on great matches.
That was a good match, yeah.
Yeah. And Jericho and Neville, you know, always put on a very good show, you know.
Yeah.
And the world title match was, you know, the Universal title with Owens, Rollins, Reigns, and Cass. I think that was really cool. I was kind of rooting for Big Cass. I think they did a great job as the underdog in this whole one night story type of thing, you know, Cass going for the title. And I think the fans being behind him so much really helped to his benefit because I just wanted to see it. I wanted to see him like overcome the odds, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a good spot for him. I think it was a good spot. I mean, I definitely wouldn't agree with him winning the match, but I think it was a good spot for him for the match. Maybe as like a tester. I mean, I know WWE loves their big guys. They're 7 foot monsters. So that might have been like a test to see how he would, you know, respond in the main event. But I think he did pretty decent.
Yeah. No, I agree. He did pretty well. I kind of wish. I think it would have been a bit surprising if Reigns got eliminated before Cass, and then it would have been a little bit more like, oh my God, Cass might be able to pick up the victory.
Yeah, I was thinking before the match, like I remember John Cena. I forget which year, but it was an elimination chamber match. He was the champion going in, and all the competitors ganged up on him at the start, and they eliminated him first or second or something.
Because the same thing happened with it was an elimination chamber with Edge, Jeff Hardy, Triple H, Undertaker. It was a SmackDown elimination chamber. And I believe Edge was the champion going into it, and he was the first one out.
Yeah, honestly, like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I know, like, obviously, everything is planned out. But, like, honestly, like, in elimination, any type of elimination match, like, why don't, especially if the title is on the line, why don't they gang up on the champion?
Yeah, no, that's true. That way, at least you crown a new champion. But I guess in a way, the reason why they don't do that because the champion is just as much as a competitor as everybody else. I mean, sure, maybe the champion has the mental advantage going into it, knowing that he's the champ. But
yeah, I guess.
I mean, if it's 1 versus 4, I mean, if it's a fatal 4-way. The champion has a 1 in 4 chance of winning, just like the challengers each have a 1 in 4 chance of winning. So it's not like, because the champion's in the match that he has to go first,
Yeah, I guess you could. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's a good point. I mean, I guess if you're looking at it in a kayfabe sense, like your objective is not necessarily to immediately eliminate the champion. Your objective is to win the match. But
yeah, I mean, if I'm going into a match, I'm going to take out the easiest target first. So like, for instance, when I played the video game WWE 2K16, which is not that often because oh God, when
you're getting ready for 2K17.
Oh, that's totally what it is. I actually started playing Madden NFL 17, and I have 87% of the trophies. I only need 3 more trophies. So after I finish this video, I'm gonna go play that.
When did you get the game?
I got it the first day. It came out.
When did it come out?
Last Tuesday, I believe.
You already have 87% of the trophies?
Yeah, I only need 3 more. One of them is to sack the quarterback, force a fumble, and recover the fumble with the same guy. And then the other trophy I need is to draft a team 82 or higher. No, higher than 82. I need to do draft champions. And,
Okay.
And
what else?
What's the third trophy? Oh my God. Oh, I just need to do 3 defensive, like this, special tackles this year. So when you collide with a running back, for instance, sometimes you have to press like a button like X, and it's a more effective tackle. Same thing for offense. I got the offense trophy because when people try to tackle me, I just hit X and keep chugging along. But on defense, I think I need 1 or 2 more defensive tackles to get that. So the 3 trophies are in reach. I'm gonna have 100% by the end of the week. Yeah.
So is the game a lot different than last year?
It is. I think the gameplay, looking at the players' arms in the uniforms, it just feels more. I don't know. In a way, the uniforms kind of feel like the 2001, 02, 03 games, very, very in depth with the uniforms. I feel like that's something they've lacked the past few years. Maybe that's just something I noticed. I noticed if you ice the kicker too, the kicks are a lot harder to make. So say if I'm playing against you and you're going for a last minute field goal and I call timeout right before you do the field goal, when you do the field goal, it's like almost impossible because like the whole screen's going and like you have to hit it from a weird angle, like the camera angle changes. So I think that's kind of cool, a cool feature.
Yeah, you call it cool now, but when I play you, you're going to be calling it something else.
Yeah, BS, right? Yeah, I mean, it's cool. I haven't came across a 99 overall team in Madden Ultimate Team, so maybe they just got rid of all the 99 cards, which would be nice. Everything's great. I love the game. Connected franchise. Now you can do, for instance, instead of playing every game, you can like choose to play the key moments of the game. So like 4th down, or when you're in red zone, like all this different stuff. When you're in the end zone, you can choose to play or not. So you can determine your team's fate without playing the whole game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there's a few new things. I'm really enjoying it a lot. I like the soundtrack. At first, there were a couple of like really like ghetto, like just like the beats and the rap, and it's like, oh my God, what am I listening to? But the soundtrack has really grown on me, especially 2 songs. There's one song by the Knox called Kiss the Sky that's really good. And there's another song, I actually have it here too. It's by Fitz and the Tantrums. It's called Roll Up. And it's like a very, not the roll up from our favorite sub shop, but
have you been there? Have you been there recently? Now I just got really, really hungry right now, man.
Oh, I'm starving. I think
I really wish I could just order some kippos right now. I'm really hungry right now.
I think I got a tuna last week, and you know how those end. So
yeah.
Yeah. But it was fun. It was I haven't eaten at our favorite Tasty since you left, but I have.
Yeah.
I've gotten other places, and I mean it's not bad. I haven't even been down to see Andres recently, so. But hey, for the viewers watching, come to Everett. They have good food. I only
best food.
The best food. That is true. I mean, like you want a burger with steak, ham, corn, there's a place right on Broadway. You want the best subs, go to Kippo's. You want the best Chinese, Tasty, It's unfortunate that we don't get to spend as much time in Everett. With me being in
Mandalay, Myanmar.
You're in Myanmar. I'm in Dallas, Texas. So, So, yeah, I mean, it kind of doesn't work out too well. But whenever we get to go home, that's the greatest thing. So, I don't know if you've been following TNA, but this week, tomorrow night, we're going to have Broken Matt Hardy versus Crazy Steve. Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy is now broken. And Jeff Hardy is starting to decay the same way Matt Hardy did. So Jeff is losing his mind at this point, and they're a tag team. And they're going after, they want a 4-way ladder match to win the #1 contender for the Decay's tag team titles. Now, this is real interesting because you got Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy, who are like psychotic. And then you got the Decay, who are just like insane. So tomorrow night, we're going to see Matt Hardy versus Crazy Steve. And I think that's going to be a very, very good match just based off the both of their talents. Allie, who is also known as Cherry Bomb, tomorrow night is going to have a championship celebration. She was Maria Kanellis' apprentice, and she was kind of Sienna's manager in a way. she ended up picking up the title over Sienna on last week's Impact. So tomorrow we'll see her celebrate, and we'll see what Maria and Sienna will have in store for her. Also, an Ultimate X Championship Gauntlet with DJZ, Trevor Lee, Rockstar Spud, Mandrews, Andrew Everett, and Braxton Sutter. Bobby Lashley won the world title. Then he went on to win the X Division title and the King of the Mountain title. So he holds all the titles except for the tag and the knockouts. Eventually, he just relinquished the X Division and King of the Mountain. He said, "Oh, I don't want these titles. They're worthless to me." Because what he wanted to do is combine all the titles into one. And our new president, Billy Corgan, was like, "No, I ain't going to let you do that." So tomorrow night we'll have a championship gauntlet match. Also, we'll have Eli Drake, the leader of Dummies, versus EC3. So that's going to be really cool to see because both men are very charismatic, you know?
Yeah, it's TNA seems. I honestly, I apologize, but I have not been keeping track of necessarily with TNA. But I am excited to hear that Jeff Hardy has become broken and is now teaming with Matt Hardy.
Yeah,
that seems kind of interesting to see them two kind of going at teaming up in their craziness, I guess you could say.
Yeah, to say the least. Yeah, I mean, even people in the U.S. have a hard time watching Pop TV. So I can imagine Myanmar Pop TV is, bro, like, well, I know I believe it's the U.K., Pop TV is actually a children's network. So I can, in Myanmar, it's probably like a porn channel or something, you know? Who knows what Pop TV stands for? So yeah, no, but it's been very, very good. We got all this world title speculation after EC3 beat Drew Galloway fair and square. Drew Galloway ended up flipping out after the match and went after Aaron Rex, who is known as Damian Sandow. He attacked him viciously, slamming his head off the steps. And I don't know. I was speechless, to be honest with you. I was very speechless after, because Aaron Rex, who is Damian Sandow, was the special referee for Drew Galloway versus EC3. And the winner of that match would face Lashley at Bound for Glory. EC3 won, and Galloway just snapped. He started slamming Sandow's head off the steps. But I noticed when he was slamming his head off the steps, his hand slipped from behind Sandow's head. So I think Sandow actually accidentally hit his head off the steps. But yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see Aaron Rex and Galloway feud, EC3 and Lashley feud. It's just all over the place, you know?
Yeah, so you're enjoying, you think Sandow is a good fit in TNA?
Oh, I think he's a great fit because, like he said when he came out, he said, "I can be myself here."
What are you doing over there?
I'm getting the PlayStation back on. Our background shut off.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, as you know, we reveal everything that happens here on the stack card. So, this is I like this episodic series. You know, Voltage episode 1. Next week we'll have episode 2, and it's nice doing it on Wednesday. You know.
Yeah, it's definitely a change. Yeah, so it's really weird. It's like we should almost call it like night and day because you're doing the show during the day in the morning, and I'm doing it at night.
Well, why didn't you come up with that before I made the title for the video? The Night and Day podcast. I wonder if it exists.
The Night and Day podcast, yeah.
I mean, if it doesn't exist, we're taking it. But then people might get confused too and think that me and you argue the whole show because, night and day it's usually used to describe differences.
That's true. Too bad, like, your last name wasn't night and my last name wasn't like day. We could be night and day.
Well, if I start a podcast with Rob and Day, then, we could get her on the podcast. Yeah, we could get her on the podcast. Phillips, Decoste, and Day. That's a good name. So yeah, TNA's been really good, and Sandow has been Aaron Rex now, has been being himself. So I'm really interested to see what he does. Also, speaking of injuries, I want to bring my well wishes to Davey Cash, one half of the Hoods. I'm guessing I've read through Facebook they had a collapsed lung and broken ribs, I believe. So I just want to send him well wishes. The show after American Rana was this past week. Post American Rana show, it was the Battle of Who Could Care Less at Aurora. Unfortunately, we were unable to attend the event. However, the Crusade picked up a victory again against Team Atlanta or Team Georgia or something, and they won. I know Shinron was on the team, and then a couple of other people. So yeah, congrats to the Crusade, continuing to dominate. And if they go the whole year, I'm gonna make a bet. Like if they go the whole year undefeated, I don't know. We should make some kind of bet on it because I'll bet. Huh?
I mean, like at this point, it's like an assumption that they're gonna win. It's like honestly, like it would be like a shock if I ever found out that they lost a match. The Crusade.
Yeah, I would honestly bet with them and not against them because they're the greatest faction in wrestling history, and this proves it. And I swear to God, if they wait till December, the last event before the end of the year, because there's probably going to be an event on December 30th or December 28th. Usually it's the end of the month. If they do an event like one day before the new year and have them lose, I'll flip.
Well, I'll be there. So.
That's true. You'll be there. So you'll get to. Well, actually, don't you have to leave on the 17th? Oh, no, you come back on the 17th, right? I believe you come back the 17th or the 19th. I can't remember. So a lot of injuries, we mentioned that Davey Cash, that's very unfortunate. We're sending our prayers and wishes his way. Also, injuries, a lot of injuries happening in the NFL. Tony Romo is out 6 to 8 weeks with a back injury. He has a fractured bone in his back. And that's not, Tony Romo has had back injuries in the past. And it's very unfortunate. But I think the Cowboys will be just fine. I think we can make the playoffs. I even think we can make the Super Bowl with Dak Prescott. I've never seen a rookie so poised, so patient in the pocket, with the ability to run and the ability to pass. Also, you have Alfred Morris, Ezekiel Elliott. You have those running backs where if anything goes wrong, you have a run game. And you have one of the best offensive lines. Defense needs work.
No.
What is that?
You have the best offensive line. That's the thing.
Well, yeah. So I think
that was the problem with the Cowboys last year. It's like all they needed. I mean, even with Romo down last year, all they needed was a competent quarterback. Not even a good quarterback. One that would just be like competent.
Yeah.
They didn't even have that.
Well, yeah, we had Brandon Weeden, Matt Castle. Now we have it. Now we have that, great quarterback that we needed. And I think Dak Prescott is going to be the future of the NFL. I mean, we've seen people in their rookie year like RG3. Oh, bless me. We've seen people like RG3 and stuff have amazing rookie years and then just go downhill. But I really think Dak Prescott's going to be the next big thing. And no, I'm not talking about Brock Lesnar. I think Dez, Terrence Williams, Cole Beasley, we have those receivers that are able to make great plays out of nothing. I mean, Jason Witten, who's barely missed a game, thank God, knock on wood. I don't want to, curse it. I think the Dallas Cowboys will be just fine. I think they'll be able to go deep into the playoffs. So Romo is out with a fractured bone in his back. Also yesterday, I want to send prayers out to Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater has a left dislocated knee and a torn ACL. The Minnesota Vikings canceled practice yesterday due to this injury. Apparently, players were throwing up. It was a very graphic injury. Fans were just crying. It was very emotional day at the Minnesota Vikings training facility. And I don't know how they're gonna do without Bridgewater. I think the Vikings without Bridgewater, it's they've had Adrian Peterson all these years. They've always had a pretty solid defense, but we've seen the Vikings without a good quarterback, they usually can't do it,
Yeah, it's a shame about Bridgewater because he seemed to be like up and coming quarterback in the league. I was excited to see what he would do this year, but I really don't see what the Vikings are going to do this year with Sean Hill.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. The Vikings have a new string of young wide receivers that we drafted. Also, Kyle Rudolph, a great tight end. The defense is incredible. Top 3 in the league. I would say maybe Seattle. Seattle's still up there, I would say. Definitely Minnesota and Arizona have 2 of the best defenses in the league. I think the Cowboys are going to have a very good defense as well. They need a lot of work, especially with Romo being out. You need to kind of prevent offenses from scoring in case your offense doesn't put up many points.
Yeah.
But I think Minnesota, it's unfortunate. I trust in Mike Zimmer as a coach. I think he's a very, very good coach. I think the running backs are good. I mean, overall, this team could be the best team in the league with Bridgewater. Without Bridgewater, it's going to be difficult. I'm not going to lie. I'm looking at some statistics here, and we have, Sean Hill, his best year with the most amount of passing yards was 2010. He had 2,686 passing yards, 16 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. I mean, his highest quarterback rating was 2012, but he only had 172 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Usually when he scores 8 touchdowns or more, last year, he had 8 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. 2010, 16 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. 2008, 13 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. So it seems like wherever his touchdowns go, there's interceptions right behind it. So it just seems like he can't stop making this error. It's a continuous problem for him. It's like, okay, I can throw some touchdowns, but then, it does you no good to throw touchdowns if you just throw interceptions. You give the ball right back to the opposing offense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Sean Hill, I've always, remembered him or, when someone mentions his name, I always think of him as like that journeyman quarterback. And just based on what you said, I mean, he pretty much just embodies that journeyman, that solid backup. But
Yeah.
when you entrust it to be the starter, it's like, it's not a good feeling,
No. No, it's pretty scary because you really don't know. I mean, there are some free agent quarterbacks available, but it's not going to be easy. Tate Bridgewater is a great kid, and he means a lot to this offense. So I don't know. Let's just assume he's out for
he
this.
might be this option. He knows the offense, so.
Yeah. I mean, let's just assume he's out for the whole season. Then, I mean, the Vikings are a great team. I think they're one of the best teams, but I think you need, like you said with the Cowboys, you need at least a competent quarterback who won't throw that many interceptions. And Brandon Weeden, to me, is similar to a Sean Hill, or Matt Castle is similar to a Sean Hill. I think all those guys are very similar because whenever they throw touchdowns, there's, 10 interceptions to follow one touchdown, It's definitely unfortunate, but we'll see what happens. You got any picks this year who you think are going to be great? Any teams that you think are going to rise above and make the playoffs? I'm saying I think Tennessee is a team to watch. I'm saying that Tennessee is a team to watch just because I think they made great improvements. Does that mean I think they'll make the Super Bowl? No. But they get this kid at running back. He's a rookie. I believe it's Derrick Henry. I'm pretty sure. Let me just double check on that. Yeah, it's Derrick Henry. He's a rookie, and he was the 45th overall pick in the second round this past year. You got Derrick Henry, DeMarco Murray. That's the best running back core in the NFL. And then you got Marcus Mariota. Defense, you got a leader like Brian Orakpo. I think the Titans are going to be a team to watch. And honestly, I need to see more from the Colts to believe that they're going to be a successful team. Just what is it? It's the Titans, the Colts, the Jags. Titans, Colts, Jags. And Texans, right?
Yeah. Not a very exciting division.
No, it's the most forgettable one. The Texans could be good. They always have a pretty solid defense. They got DeAndre Hopkins as a receiver, second-year man. Brock Osweiler now over there.
That's true.
And then you sign Lamar Miller from the Miami Dolphins. So they could be solid. I'd say I think this year that division is going to be very exciting because Tennessee, if Marcus Mariota can stay healthy, Tennessee could go 10-6, I think. I think it's either going to be between Tennessee and Jacksonville. Jacksonville is going to be very good, I believe. So now we got preseason games. I'm just going to take my top 5 preseason games this week to watch. I think one of the top preseason games is the LA Rams versus Minnesota Vikings. I think this is going to be interesting to see what Sean Hill does, now with Teddy Bridgewater out. Or do you even start Sean Hill? Do you play him at all? Because if you lose Sean Hill, then you got nothing. I think another exciting game to watch will be Raiders, Seahawks. I think this will really show if the Raiders are going to be the next great team in the NFL. I know a lot of people have been saying with all the free agent signings, Amari Cooper, Derek Carr, that explosive offense, they could be the next thing. Well, now's your chance to prove it. Get your young guys up against Seattle's young guys. See what happens there. Another team, I think, the Houston Texans versus the Dallas Cowboys. That's my third pick of the week because, like I said, Houston Texans acquired all these new players, young free agents, and the Dallas Cowboys now have no Romo. So we really need to see how things work out there. Also, I'm hearing that the Cowboys are interested in Austin Davis, former Cleveland Browns quarterback. So that should be interesting. I would say I'd say Tennessee and Dolphins are a game to watch. I think if you haven't seen Derrick Henry and DeMarco Murray run side by side on the field, you definitely need to go watch that game. And I think I just think Arizona and Denver would be my pick for my fifth game of the week, just because Arizona was such a top contender last season, actually, sorry. In Denver, too, Denver was a huge contender. A contender. They kind of won the Super Bowl. So I think Arizona and Denver is going to have a good game. I want to see what Denver does without Brock Osweiler, without Peyton Manning. Now you got Paxton Lynch, Mark Sanchez, Simeon. I think that's how you pronounce his name. So yeah, I'm looking forward to watching the Broncos, the Titans, the Raiders, the Cowboys, Texans, and Vikings. I think those are the teams to watch this week, just because they're very unproven, and there's been a lot of new additions to each team. There's been a lot of major injuries for those teams. So now we get to see what happens. What happens now that we have replacements stepping in for these, great players.
Yeah, especially during that last week, it should be interesting to see, who gets cut, who does not.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you kind of just want, this week to end. You want, the first week to start.
Yeah.
So, Matt, I don't know about you, but it's 11 o'clock p.m. where I am, and I have to wake up very, very early tomorrow. So.
All right. Well, I'll let you go on that note. Thanks for being on Voltage. It's awesome. Hopefully we do the same thing next week. Maybe try to get a little bit earlier, just because the whole setting up situation was kind of a new experience. But
yeah,
I
had a fun time.
Yeah, no, I think this was one of the funnest shows. I enjoyed talking football and stuff. Before you go, do you have any teams that you want to watch out for this year in the NFL? Any teams you think that are going to surprise and shock the world and just come out of nowhere and go deep into the playoffs?
Probably the one team I'm thinking of, it's a team that's been very slowly moving up the win-loss column over the last couple of years. Jacksonville Jaguars. I think they could surprise a few people. Their defense is slowly getting better. They're a young, exciting team. I could see, honestly, we were talking about that AFC South.
Mm-hmm.
Really, it would not shock me if they won the division. Honestly, that division is so bad. I could see them winning.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think I could see them win the division as well. What better time than now? you know, because you have Colts who haven't been doing too well, Texans who have a lot to prove this year, and then Tennessee who have a lot to prove. But like I said, that running back core is going to be exciting to watch. And yeah, I mean, I just think with you got Hearns, you got Robinson, you got Blake Bortles. I believe they have Chris Ivory, who they acquired from the Jets last year as well for running back. In the defense, like Ben was saying, they just slowly get better and better every year. So, yeah, so it's exciting. We're going into this week with a lot of games to watch, a lot of wrestling to watch. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll keep in touch. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for tuning in. I guess the only thing to do now is say bye-bye. Boop.